call the meeting of this special meeting of the City of Margate Commission to order. Let's rise for a moment of silence and the pledge of allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Public censure of Commissioner Ruzzano for disclosing information from a closed labor strategy meeting.
Before I start, I'm going to ask the city attorney to give the definition of what a public censure is so that everyone is aware of it.
Censure has been defined as a formal vote by a majority of the members of a governing body voting on a resolution disapproving of a member's conduct. A reprimand is less severe than a censure and is used to address lesser transgressions than the subject to censure and is done by motion. You want me to?
That's fine. That's fine. Just so the public understands, the way this is going to work is I'm going to make some statements. I'm going to take discussion from the City Commission. I'm going to entertain a motion, and after that motion is entertained, then the public will have the opportunity to speak. The first part of the discussion is with the Commission. Anyone that knows me knows that before I got elected and after I got elected, I firmly believed that government should govern themselves. The city commissioners should govern themselves. I believe that when a commissioner does something wrong, the rest of the commission should know, and the commission should make the decision as to what the outcome of that is. The rules and the laws were not written just for David McLean. They are for this whole body, and I believe that. So tonight, I'm going to address the commission that I believe, it is my belief, that Commissioner Ruzzano has violated Florida Statute 447-605. And I'm going to read this so that everyone understands, and I'll tell you exactly the portion I believe he's violated. Public meetings and records law, exemptions and compliance. Number 1. All discussions between the chief executive officer of the public employer and his or her representative on legislative body or the public employer relative to collective bargaining shall be closed and exempt from the provisions of 286.011, which is the public noticing. Correct?
And if public noticing and requiring that meetings are in public,
right.
Generally called the sunshine law.
Correct. Number 2, the collective bargaining negotiations between the chief executive officer and his or her representatives and bargaining agent shall be in compliance with the provisions. That will be the labor negotiations between the city manager, who is our chief executive bargaining officer, and the specific unions. 3, all work products developed by the public employer in preparation for negotiations and during negotiations shall be confidential and exempt from the provisions of 119.07 parentheses 1. And this is the specific part of this state statute that I believe Commissioner Ruzzano has violated. For the lack of better words, the word shall, when used in legal laws, means mandatory. There is no other definition when it's used in laws, regulations, and directives. It means mandatory. City Manager, I'm going to read something and I'm going to ask you a question. The figure the city is using to take from taxpayers and give to labor unions is a potential 7 to 9% savings on health insurance costs. Although increases to health insurance for city workers was expected to be as high as 10 to 12%. In the coming fiscal year, the increase amounted to little less than 3% to the taxpayers. According to Ruzzano, the city is suggesting the savings go towards increasing the pay of workers. Do you consider that statement to be part of your work product?
Yes.
Was this information given to the public?
No.
Is this information allowed not to be given to the public for use during labor negotiations?
The answer is no, because that information, a majority of that information, well, I don't have to be careful how I put this, is that part of that information was, I don't want to discuss it, but it was discussed that evening.
Right. Oh, and let me ask this person. Do you not need to ask this question? And you've said this to me personally, but I want it on the record. Do you believe that the December 8th, I believe it was the 8th? 11th, confidential executive meeting is now no longer confidential?
Well, it certainly everything that we said there, or certainly the vast majority of it, is now public information. So anything that was said at that meeting that is now public information that has been repeated is no longer confidential.
So can the commissioner say what was or was not said at that meeting if it doesn't pertain to the particular negotiation information?
Everything that was discussed at that meeting had to do with labor negotiations. What I'm saying is the information that has been made public is out in the public and can be discussed. But I would urge everyone on this dais not to repeat any information that has not been made public already from that meeting.
So we can't say what was not said at that meeting?
Not said.
Yeah.
Well, yes, you cannot repeat anything that is no longer, that is in the public. You cannot repeat that which is not in the public, nor can, that's my recommendation, nor should you repeat anything that was handed out or shown to the members of the commission.
Okay.
That was not repeated and is now out in the public.
Okay. Vice Mayor, Commissioners, I firmly believe that the information that was given out was part of the work product for the negotiations. According to this news article, Commissioner Ruzzano says that he had never heard of a shade meeting before. And for that, I will say that as a commissioner, if you are asked to go to a meeting and you don't know what kind of meeting you're going to, then you're doing your constituents a disservice. I'm also going to state for the record that this was the second executive meeting that Commissioner Ruzzano has been at, the first being October 2nd, where he knew that that was confidential and that it was not to be discussed. So I am going to, it is my belief that he knew the information was confidential when he gave that information out. To set that point home a little bit more, I am also going to read again from the Margate News.net. The figure was kept from the public during budget hearings this year and never mentioned after the budget was approved, all in the spirit of fair labor negotiations, which, according to Ruzzano, can't happen now. Once this information was given out and made public, I believe that it has hampered the city's ability to negotiate with the labor unions. They now have all the information that they did not have before, and has basically left our city manager standing on the street naked. The only people that benefited by this information being put out is the unions, because now they have what Jerry was holding in his hand. I believe that ignorance of the law is not an excuse to break the law. I don't think you can find one single city commissioner anywhere who totally agrees with every law and policy that we as elected officials have to follow. But that still means we have to follow them. I believe that, quite possibly, and it's my own opinion, and I will ask the city manager, that this also has interfered with city business. I can't make that call. That's only something the city manager can answer, so I'm going to ask him, city manager, do you believe that this has interfered with city business?
Yes.
Do you want that information added to this discussion, or do you want to bring it back to us at a later time?
As this board deems appropriate.
Well, it's your call, because you're the only one that can say that. So if you want to add it to this discussion about the censure, it will be part of the record for this particular public censure. If you want to bring it back,
I don't think it's necessary at this time.
then you bring it back to us. I believe that this particular offense, the public censure, is the appropriate response from the commission. I will give Commissioner Ruzzano the newbie card. I will give him the card that he didn't know that he was specifically breaking a law. However, I will not give him a card for not knowing it was a confidential meeting. There was a board at this meeting that specifically said labor negotiations confidential. I asked to have the board here, but I don't know that we need it because it's up there for the meetings. I also am going to ask the commission, did the city manager during the meeting tell you that it was a confidential meeting and should not be discussed? Commissioner Tallarico?
Yes.
Commissioner Donahue?
Yes.
Commissioner Ruzzano?
Can I ask one question? When was it told?
Right away.
Right away? Jerry, when did you tell me today it was told?
It was on the board, and then
No, when was it told to everybody? You told me today. When you told it to everybody?
prior to the close of the meeting.
Okay, that's not right away.
When I saw it on there. Right.
No.
There was two situations. Let's don't get into the debate.
I said, when was it told today? They said they heard it.
It's okay. It's okay. Go ahead. Vice Mayor, did you ask? No,
When did you hear about
I'm
it?
waiting for Commissioner Ruzzano.
When did you hear about it? Well, it was a confidential meeting.
Yeah, I know going into there it's confidential because I've been to,
Okay, you've
been
been
up there
to
a long time.
Okay, but we were told that meeting it was confidential, correct?
Yes, absolutely.
Now, I was told today, the only time it was told was when we were leaving the meeting. That was by Gene and by Jerry.
It was reiterated to us.
Yes. That's not what they said. They said it was told at the meeting when we were leaving.
Okay,
I think that-
I'll give you my answer. It's right on the board as I got there. I understood it was a confidential meeting. When we were giving papers, we were told these are confidential. You're going to give them back, and at the end, when we gave them back, this is a confidential meeting. A number of times I was made aware that this is a confidential meeting.
Papers, I do agree with.
Yeah, so it was a number of times.
He gave the papers to us.
On the easel too, it said confidential.
I didn't see it on, I see it. I'll have a chance to talk, right?
Yeah, I'm just trying to get the vote for whether or not it was confidential or not. I'm waiting for Commissioner Ruzzano's answer.
No.
Vice Mayor Simone?
Yes.
Okay. And I will say that if you walk into a meeting that has 4 other commissioners in it, and you do not know what kind of meeting you're in, again, you have done a disservice to your constituents. This was not,
Yeah.
this was not, as I said, your first executive meeting. This was your second executive meeting, and at your first executive meeting in October, I specifically stated, this was an executive meeting, it is confidential, it cannot be discussed. We are allowed two meetings that are outside of the sunshine.
You just said executive meeting, correct?
Correct.
Okay. Was it the shade meeting?
They're the same meeting.
I didn't know that, Lee.
And again, Commissioner, when you were called and asked, could you be available for a shade meeting?
Yes.
Did you say, what is a shade meeting?
No, I didn't.
So if I called you and asked you, do you want to go to a tree meeting, you would just come without asking, what is a tree meeting?
Trust me. Just stay.
Okay. I still contend that you knew. I contend that you knew it was confidential when you gave the information based on your statement that it cannot happen now. Again, this is not a court of law. This is not an Amish shunning. This is the information that I'm presenting to the commission, and they can make their own decisions. Okay? If you did not know or were never told it was a confidential meeting, I would be very hard pressed to believe that since March, no one has ever said to you, and again I know in October, no one has ever said to you that there are only 2 meetings that can be met without the public. And that is the labor negotiations and the client attorney privilege negotiations. Both follow under different types of public reporting and things like that. But executive meetings are specifically for labor. Did you know you were going to be going in? Did you know that the meeting was a labor negotiation meeting with the city commission and the city manager?
I think you have to do.
That is the only type, and they are confidential. I'm going to suggest that I believe that a public censure in my opinion, is a slap on the hand and then you move on. That when you've done something wrong, that we need to admit to it, deal with it, and move forward.
Am I standing up here before Jesus Christ? You guys never made a mistake, Lee?
Excuse me, can I finish? Yes. And now I'll just go into it. I believe that had in the past, when a commissioner made a mistake, did something wrong, had the commission done something at the time, then the commissioner would not have been able to continually get away with things that were not right. I believe in the past, and history has shown us that the reason that things have happened, that people have been allowed to get away with things, okay, that have been allowed to get away with things, is because none of the other commissioners were either made aware of it or did it. And if anyone thinks this is easy, I'm sorry, you have no idea what this includes. This is the second time that I have said this, because this is the second time I believe this, that a commissioner should be made accountable by his peers. I am recommending I entertain a motion after the discussion for the public censure, or now that Gene has just said the word reprimand, I'll take a reprimand, because of the fact that you did do wrong. And you did cause harm to the city. You've caused harm to the labor negotiations. And whether that was your intent or not, and I would like to think that was not your intent. However, your statements in the paper basically say differently. But I believe that a public censure is the proper course of action for this commission for this first public offense. Now I'll take discussion from the commission, and Commissioner Ruzzano, I'll give you the option of being first or last.
Can I be first and last?
No, you get first or last. Pick it.
I'll be last.
Wow, make up the rules as we go.
Yeah, I can.
Yeah.
Commissioner Talerico.
Good evening. You know, I think this is, the situation itself is very serious as far as I'm concerned. I've been up here for about nearly 20 years. I've been to various shade meetings, executive sessions, and so forth, where we've done labor negotiations. And you know, you don't want to reveal your hand. It's just like playing cards. That's part of the process. But I've never experienced anything like this before. It's not that, you know, the negotiations are one thing, but as a commissioner and as a person, I went to that shade meeting knowing exactly what it meant and what a confidential meeting is, and the authority that the city manager has to negotiate with the unions and approving his strategy. When I left the meeting, like I have in the past, I assumed that everyone understood what it was and what confidentiality meant. If I had a question about what confidentiality was, or I wasn't sure, first thing I would do, and again, Tommy, the first time and all that, ask right at the meeting, what does this mean? Why are we here? Confidentiality, what does it mean? I would get an answer right away. So then I went and saw on a blogger's site that Commissioner Ruzzano ran to the blogger and told his blogger everything. And that hurt me. It really did, because instead of saying, okay, let's get this settled today at this meeting, it comes out like we're trying to hide things from the public. We're doing something underhanded. All we're doing is doing labor negotiations. Plain. All right. Well, how did they find out? Okay, well, that's the impression I got. You know, this right away, they knew all about this. You know, if you have strategy, you know, if you would simply have to ask a simple question and got a response, we wouldn't be sitting here right now. Because then you would understand, I don't agree with this. Maybe they'd ask you to leave the room at the time. I mean, if you felt uncomfortable with it. But it's like you violated my trust in you, because I've never had that happen to me in 20 years, where I have to read somewhere that what I've been doing all these years is wrong. It's not wrong. It's not wrong. That's how you do business. Just like you may negotiate contracts with people. I felt like I was set up, and I didn't even do anything. I went to a meeting. It appeared that you knew exactly what you were doing when you talked to the bloggers. You had, you know, you know what confidence is. You violated the trust of many of us, and you know, listen, I'm not here to hang you, Tommy. Believe me. I just don't want this to happen again. Believe me. And I didn't see anything in any place online or anything. Well, you know, I'm sorry, I made a mistake, so forth and so on. But I was very disappointed. I lost respect for you at that time. And you know, again, you're not a bad, evil person. You made a mistake. I know. I'm not saying you are, Tom. Okay? But again, you made a mistake, and you need to have it brought to your attention, and it has to be done in public. And I just hope you'll learn from the past. I mean, if you don't want to go to a shade meeting in the future, and you feel uncomfortable, do you really think we were hiding things from the people of Margate? I mean, this is, oh, really? Well, that's what you might think, but that's how it works. That's how it works. You know, it's not unfortunate. You don't play your hand when you're doing union negotiations. Obviously, you never have done it. Again, 20 years here. We know all about this stuff. So I just hope you learn a lesson. And I'm not here to destroy your career or anything like that. Believe me. You're a nice guy, you got a nice family, everything's going good here. Let's just try to put everything in its proper perspective. And if you're not sure of anything, you have a question, my God, ask it next time before that something like this happens again. Because there's no reason for this to happen. It hasn't happened in 20 years. And now we're out there telling you, oh, you guys are doing something wrong. You're violating the sunshine law. You're doing this, you're doing that. Not at all. No, that's how the system is. Okay? Thank you.
Commissioner Donahue.
Good evening. I can tell you that when I saw that article, I was disappointed. I was at that meeting. I understood it was a shade meeting. Or if not understood what shade meant, I did understand the word confidential. So much so that when the article came out, my wife had asked me a question about it because I had not even spoken to her about it. It's confidential is confidential. And I understand that. It is a trust that's given to us. When somebody speaks with us in confidence, we're being trusted. And that's one of those things I take very seriously. I know that we're trying to do the best for the people of Margaret, for the residents, the citizens, and the workers, the employees, and everybody. We balance that with what's appropriate. And sometimes we make mistakes. I do make mistakes. I'm not perfect. And I'm not about to throw the first stone. I do look at this as a potential growing experience and learning experience. I want to be able to trust the people that I work with. I want to be able to trust when we work together that we have each other's back, because we're looking at the interests of the citizens of Margate and not our own. And it's not about perception of grandstanding or I have all the answers or anything like that. We really are a team. And we don't have to agree on everything. But I do want to be able to know that we're working for the same cause. No mistakes to be made. We can do things that we think is in the best interest, but it turns out that, I did something wrong, I did not know it. And again, we can learn from this. Our options, Gene, are censure, reprimand, or what is some of the other options?
Well, the options are, because this involves the ethics law, there are other ethics provisions about disclosing information for the benefit of others. It can be sent, this matter can be sent to the Ethics Commission. There is a state law that says that where confidential information is used for the benefit of others, it's a crime. It could be sent to the state attorney's office. The matter could be sent to the OIG, the Office of Inspector General of Broward County. If it's deemed to be ethics violation as well, this body can technically provide for forfeiture of office, provide for suspension of its members, provide for censure, provide for, by resolution, provide for reprimand by motion.
Thank you. So what I'm hearing is that this is a serious matter. I also read where you believe everything should be in the sunshine. So that is why this is in the sunshine. As uncomfortable as it is, we're talking openly about what it is that is going on now. And I will listen to all of what is said with an open mind. Thank you.
Vice Mayor Sloan.
Tommy, I'm certainly not here to end you in any way. I think we have a good working relationship, and I would like to keep it that way. When I saw the article, I knew it was a confidential meeting. When I saw the article, I was very hurt by it. So I guess before I go on with some of the things that I had intended to say, I would like to ask you, are the things that were written in Margate News about the commission, about what happened at that meeting, are they your sentiments or are they the sentiments of somebody else?
More specific, we want Margaret.
Ruzzano said he was concerned over how other commissioners appeared to represent the interests of certain unions at the Shade meeting, some having received campaign contributions from bargaining units in the past. 3 out of 5 commissioners have been or are directly affiliated with government labor unions. How can that be good for the decision-making process in determining fair contracts?
I never mentioned the word campaign contributions. I did mention the fact that if there were people in the union, I don't see how that could be represented as being fair. I did say that.
Okay, do you feel in your heart that any commissioner sitting up here, because they took union campaign contributions, has the inability to be objective when it comes to labor negotiations?
No, and I never said that. As mentioned, I never even said that. I didn't say
Well-
taking contribution. I never mentioned the word contributions. I mentioned being in a union. I don't think it's appropriate. And my case in point was with Brian, with his wife being in the union, and we're about to vote on her raise. I didn't feel that was correct.
Okay, let me ask you another question. Did you mention to Margate News about other commissioners? I can understand that if you didn't agree with the executive meeting, that you can't air your personal feelings about it. But to bring in other commissioners with how you feel was wrong. Did you bring other commissioners into the conversation?
Yes,
What was the purpose of that?
because you guys were involved in a union, correct? I don't even know. You were voting on union negotiations. I didn't think it made sense to vote on something if we're involved with it.
So, in other words, you don't feel that we have the ability to be unbiased just because we either took campaign donations or because we used to be a former member union.
It had to do with campaign contributions, I think.
Okay.
Gene, can I say something that happened at the meeting about the union?
You're allowed to say anything.
I can say anything, Gene, I can say anything I want. Where,
You can.
Gene?
I would urge you not, if it wasn't in the article, if you did not disclose it already,
But I need to answer a question.
I would urge you not to repeat anything new that happened at that meeting.
How can I answer the question?
I don't know.
I'll just say it then.
You can say what you feel.
I'm going to
That's
say,
all.
I'm an open book, and I'm going to say, at the meeting, I think, Lee, you said you were part of the FPE or some kind of union?
No, Commissioner Ruzzano, what I said was that the FPE had been my union.
Okay, okay.
It had been my union.
Okay, okay. So, there's the answer to your question. I thought she wasn't part of that union.
But even if you used to be part of the union, why do
No,
you...
I thought she was part of that union.
Okay. Oh, part of that union. Okay. But even if she was part of that union, what...
How can you vote on your own union? I was told, Gene, correct me if I'm wrong, any benefit to us, we have to abstain from the voting? If there's a benefit?
If there's a personal benefit, and depending upon the number of people in the union, one may have to abstain. In actuality, I gave you an opinion that was very close to, was that at Port St. Lucie?
Yeah,
That
exactly.
was very close to the opinion that the situation that Commissioner Donahue is in.
Correct.
And they said that he could vote, it was just the opposite. The commissioner of Port St. Lucie's husband was a police officer. And because there were more than 100 people in the bargaining unit, that was not deemed to be a special benefit, and therefore that commissioner in Port St. Lucie could vote. And depending upon, even assuming that an individual was a member of a union, if the benefit was to less than 1%, meaning if that person, if the union was so large that the person benefited was less than 1% of all the people who were being benefited, the Ethics Commission had said, while that may be a benefit, it is not a special benefit, and therefore a commissioner could vote. So I don't know how many people are in the FPE, but if from all the cases in the Ethics Commission that has decided what is a special benefit, if there are more people in the union, you can vote because it's not a special benefit. If there are less than 100 people, then you cannot vote and you must abstain.
Did you guys know that?
Yes, I
Jane
did.
told me that the next day. I didn't know it at the meeting. Sitting up here, I was always told that anything that's going to benefit us, we have to abstain from.
But understand that the mayor is not a member of any party.
Okay. I thought she was. With the FPE.
Point of information. Gene, did we vote on a union contract
No.
at this meeting?
No, you did
So,
not.
and in the past, I think we've always had this conversation,
Vote
wait, let me finish. That even if you are in a conflict, you can discuss and discuss and discuss. But when it comes time to the final vote, you may have to excuse yourself from that vote. But we didn't vote on it.
No,
We just
absolutely.
discussed. You discuss as much as you want.
Yes.
Consensus at the meeting. I mean, I was at the same meeting as you guys.
Yeah, excuse me,
It wasn't
wait.
final.
What was, and,
Weren't we asked the question at the end how we felt? And we all said yes or no?
okay, let me explain the executive meeting. And the reason I'm doing this is because I'm still under confidentiality. For an executive meeting, Commissioner, an executive meeting, the chief bargaining officer, which is our city manager, cannot go higher than what we have already set, which was in the October 2nd executive meeting. He has to, by law, he has to bring it back to us, and he will throw out what he wants to offer to the unions, in which case we will give consensus as to yes, no, maybe. That is not how we are voting on the particular union contract. That is giving him permission to go past whatever we have already set.
Understand. Weren't we asked at the end whether we're in favor of it, yes or no?
In favor of what he,
In favor of offering it to the union.
Yes.
There's no
offering it is not the union contract.
Right, then the union has to either approve or disapprove. If they disapprove, then it has to go back to their members. If they approve, then it has to go back to their members to be ratified. And then it has to come to the city commission to be approved. The contract must be approved in public. But once again, the offer is exactly what is the strategy. That's the whole idea. What can the city manager offer? What's the top figure? That doesn't mean that he can't offer less and hold it back, knowing that there's a top line. But of course, once the offer is top line of what could be offered to the union is made public, then the city manager can't offer less because the union knows, simply by reading Margate News, that the top offer that the city could make, that the commissioners have given to the city manager, his ceiling as to how far he can go. So of course they're going to say, we're not going to accept $500. We're not going to accept $250. The city manager was given the authority in a closed meeting. It's on Margate News, to $1,000 to everyone who's topped out in their pay classification.
Okay, Commissioner, Vice Mayor.
Yes. All cities do have these meetings. It is common knowledge. This is not, as what was reported, we do not have a secret society. This is open government. Nothing was hidden from the residents. Nothing will be hidden from the residents. As far as I know, a proceeding like this for this kind of infraction has never happened before for the executive meetings. No commissioner has ever gone or reported to the press what has occurred in an executive meeting. And all cities have these meetings. So are we bad for having these meetings? No. All cities have them, regardless of what you think. If it was wrong on our part, then it would be a violation of the state. And it is in the state statute that you are allowed to have these meetings. Okay, I would also like to read this into the record. What was reported to have been said by me and written concerning the executive meeting that took place was self-serving with malicious intent to discredit my reputation, character, and integrity. I don't take kindly to such, and quite honestly, find it to be low class and despicable. What is being told as to what I stated at the executive meeting is inaccurate, misconstrued, and was one person's interpretation that was passed on to another for their interpretation. It's like the telephone game we used to play when we were children. I believe in treating all parties with fairness, equally, and will adhere to the policies and procedures that I vowed when I took this office. That won't change. I could easily go on the attack, but instead, I choose to conduct myself in a more dignified and professional manner. At the end of the day, I'll be the one holding my head high and sleeping with a clean conscience.
Commissioner Donahue, you're on the thing, but Commissioner Ruzzano is.
I just had a point of clarification.
Okay, go ahead.
The point of clarification is, especially if you've ever read MargateNews.net, anytime my name is mentioned, you probably have seen, and is married to a Margate police officer. Brian Donahue married to, you know, the idea that also is the assumption as to how I'm going to vote on something that hasn't come up yet before me is silly. If I have the rules in front of me, I'm going to play by the rules. And so I did not vote on the contract. I've just said, go ahead, proceed in the negotiations. It's not a vote on the contract. And I will tell you something. I am very proud to be married to a Margate police officer who, when she's not working, is a human being, and she's my wife. And I have no problem with the Margate Police Department whatsoever. They are very good people. So I will be able to talk on the subject, but whether I vote or not will be based on what's in front of me.
Commissioner Ruzzano.
Right before I start, I just want to ask you one question. I quote you one sentence, I think, in that article. You tell me it was wrong, the sentence?
What sentence was that?
I don't have it in front of me.
3 out of 5. 3 out of 5 commissioners, I'll read it in the record. 3 out of 5 commissioners have been or are directly affiliated with government labor unions. How can that be good for the, not that one?
No, the one that I quoted her saying. I can't even read it. It's in the first paragraph. If you want to read that, you can read that.
Starts out Margate Mayor, was that the one? Yeah. Margate Vice Mayor Joanne Simone.
Correct.
Said she won't support a police union salary increase until she knows, the fire union is getting theirs.
What,
That
did
is
you say
totally,
that?
no, I did not. That is totally incorrect. And that's what I was saying.
What did you say, Joanna?
I can't say it because it was confidentiality.
I think I had one word messed up, but it was very damn close to what you said.
No, it wasn't. It wasn't, honestly, it was not. If it was coming, I would admit it, but this was not. Okay. I'm not gonna argue with you about it. You heard something. I know what I said.
I even got called in the next day by Gene saying you quoted exactly what Simone said.
That is absolute,
Gene, that's wrong.
that's
You said
absolutely
the whole
wrong.
article was quoted at the meeting.
What I said was that there were quotes throughout the meeting. I never said that
You said I
Commissioner.
quoted it.
What I said was throughout the meeting. I never said that what Commissioner Simone said was correct. I said there were quotes throughout the meeting, verbatim. That's what I said.
Thank you.
Do I know if it's right? Absolutely not.
Do I go? First, I want to thank everybody for coming here. You know, I didn't know where I was going to start with this, where I was going to go with this. I just want everybody out here to know that you guys are my boss. I'm not hiding anything from you. If I upset you guys in any way, I apologize. I would never do that. I'm here for you guys, and I'm here to do what's right for Margate. Walking into this meeting is kind of like walking into the lion's den. I already know what's going to happen. I see it. I'm going to try though. I'm not a quitter. I had stuff written down. I'm even going to read it. I'm going to speak from my heart. You know, there were a lot of comments made. I went into this meeting. The first meeting, I want you everybody know, it was an executive board meeting. That's correct. I was told numerous times it was confidential. There was a board there with the word confidential on it. Meeting was over, done. This meeting I was called up to go to a shade meeting. Went to the meeting, the same board was there. The word confidential, I didn't see it on the board when I walked in. Nobody mentioned it. I asked when it was mentioned. I was told by the city manager, the city attorney, when we were walking out. I was told by my two commissioners over here. It was told while we were there. I didn't know it was a confidential meeting. I'm not perfect. I realize now, these meetings, you can't say them. I guarantee you, when I'm mayor, I will never have these meetings. I don't agree with these meetings. They're shady meetings. There's shady stuff with these meetings. I don't approve of these meetings. That's my opinion. Gene said I can say what I want to say. I don't approve of these meetings.
Say whatever you want.
I don't approve of these meetings. I don't like them. I went in there, my wife wanted to come, I said, you can't come because it's a private meeting.
It's a private meeting. So you knew it was a private meeting?
It was told that it was a private meeting. Nobody was allowed to go. I wasn't even received any paperwork showing this meeting. It was all a phone call. I was like, what kind of meeting is this? I went to the shade meeting.
You asked what kind of meeting was supposed to be?
What's that?
When you were called by, I'm assuming it was...
No, I didn't ask what kind of meeting it was.
Okay.
My wife wanted to go and I said,
You said she could not because it's a private meeting.
if I did say that, I said that. Private meeting. It doesn't.
And you were told...
I wasn't told it was a confidential meeting.
Okay, wait a minute.
I'm trying to put words into my mouth.
I'm not. I'm asking you a question. I'm not putting any words in your mouth. You were told at the October 8th meeting, the two types of meetings...
No. And the
Yeah.
October 8th meeting? I never heard of the shade meeting before.
A shade meeting is a slang term due to the fact that we have to do everything in the sunshine. Again, if you did not know what it was, you should have asked Nancy or whoever called you to see if you were available. That would have just been simple logic. What's a shade meeting?
You're right.
And you
Looking
could
back,
have,
looking back, I could have done that. I could have done that, looking back.
And when
Maybe
you,
I should have done that looking back.
when you came into the meeting and sat down at the table with us,
Yeah.
you could have asked at that point,
You're 100% right, lady.
what is a shade meeting?
You're 100% right. I didn't know going into this meeting what it was about, lady.
And I'm not saying that what you did was maliciously, but
When you
you
guys
did
talk,
know.
don't do anything to hurt one of my commissioners or one of my taxpayers out there.
And
I feel like I'm
agree with
getting thrown into the pit right now, Lee. Lee, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
You've never broken the sunshine law, yes or no?
you. No,
No?
no.
9/11/13.
9/11/13.
We had the thing at Fireman's Fighters Park. You
Okay.
came walking up to me. Do you remember this? As I was getting out of my car.
No,
You
sir.
came walking up to me. You said, I'm going to make a motion at tonight's meeting, having our police department investigate it. I talked to the other commissioners, and they're okay with it. They're going to go along with it. You
No,
Had a
sir.
conversation, Lee.
No, sir.
So I just made that up. I just made that up, Lee.
Excuse me,
Go ahead. Go ahead.
You have it on tape? The conversation did not happen.
Lee, I'm a Christian. Next week I'm celebrating my Lord and Savior's birthday. I'm not perfect. You're going to tell me that it didn't happen, Lee?
I'm going to tell you, wait, please allow me. I'm going to tell you that if you believe it happened, then you file a thing with the Commission on Ethics. You go ahead and file a grievance.
You're going to look at me and tell me it didn't happen.
I am
just
going
want
to
people
look at
know.
you.
She's not perfect, nor am I.
Nor did I say I was perfect,
But
Commissioner.
did you make a mistake, Lee? Did
I've
I make a
made
mistake?
numbers of
I
mistakes
asked-
being up here.
I asked if I can get a censure on you from Gene. And I was told, hey, Gene, what was the answer I got?
Censure?
When I wanted to say, well, I would like to make a censure against Mayor Kiernan. When I asked you that in your office.
No, absolutely not.
You said it's going to go through the mayor.
No, what I said, you said,
Oh,
you asked me, can the mayor do this?
No,
And
I didn't. No, I
yes,
didn't, Gene.
sir.
I said, Gene,
Yes,
I would like to make a censure.
No, sir, no. No, sir, you asked me, I said, it's the mayor's prerogative to call a meeting. I said, if you can convince a majority of the commission to overrule the mayor as far as the meeting, then the meeting would not be held. And you said, how do I do that? And I said, because I can't do it now, I said, no, you have to do it in public. So I guess you're going to have to do it at the meeting. Excuse me, no, you said that. And then I said, yes, you're absolutely right. You never asked me. You asked me, does the mayor have the right to call this meeting? And I said, and I reiterate.
Gene.
Now, wait a minute, let me finish.
Gene, I asked you if I could censure.
Absolutely not.
Wait, Gene, this is not between you and Commissioner Ruzzano, this is a commission thing. Commissioner Ruzzano, if you would like to put on an agenda or call for a special meeting to have me censored, I will be more than happy to entertain that for you.
Well, I guess I have to carry tape recorder now when I talk to you, I guess.
You may have to.
Commissioner, if you do that, you better tell everyone that you're recording it.
From now on,
Because if you don't,
How's
it's
that?
a felony.
I want everybody to know right now.
Oh, jeez. What a joke is this? Come on, give me a break. You're wasting my tax dollars here.
No, I'm not. I'm not. And if you read the article, you guys keep picking phrases from this article. Doesn't it say in the article, Ruzzano did not know what shade meeting was?
Yes.
So you guys only want to take what you got. I didn't know about the shade meeting. Why didn't I answer that? I don't know, Frank. Frank, I
Wait,
don't
you
know.
gotta make those, I don't have to speak into the microphone.
That kind of goes back, Tommy, to what I was asking you. Why did you feel it necessary to talk about the other commissioners? I understand that you don't agree with this.
Okay, Joanne, I'm gonna answer it real easily. 2 weeks ago, I got a call that I had to give up my emails, my personal emails. I said, Gene, do I have to do this? He said, yes. Stop me when I'm wrong, Gene. You're public record now.
No, what I said was, anything regarding the city, you have to go through your personal emails,
Okay.
and you have to determine what has to do with the city and what does not. Yes.
Okay. I'm an open book. No secrets about me. I gave up 1,600 emails. I didn't have nothing to hide. I gave them everything. I gave them stuff that didn't even have to do with Margaret. I just gave them to them. I don't care. They can come take my computer, Gene. Then the next day we had this shade meeting, which I didn't even know about. I got a call the next day, questions about the contract negotiation. I'm told one day I'm an open book, no secrets. Next day I got a call from Gene, what are you doing talking about this meeting? Correct, Gene?
Absolutely. It was a Saturday when I called you. It was 3 days later.
It was the day after the story came out, I guess.
Friday.
No,
It was the day after the story.
I'm pretty sure.
It was early morning, I remember.
Okay, then it was Friday.
So I just want to say, I didn't mean to hurt anybody up here. I was asked questions, I gave answers. I didn't know I could only answer some things, right? Some other times I can't ask or I can't say the right thing, or I have to keep my mouth shut. You guys are my boss. I've been in business for 23 years. If somebody in my business knows something that's going on, and I don't know about it, I want to know about it. You guys are my boss. I figure I can tell you guys everything. I see now I can't. Some things I have to hide from you, and I apologize. It is Yes, it is. I can't tell you. Some things I can't tell you guys, and I apologize for that. If you're going to be out there is upset with me, I apologize. Thank you.
Okay. Again, executive meetings are governed by the state of Florida. They're not governed by the mayor. The mayor does not call the executive meetings, except at the request of the labor negotiating officer. It is not anything that's within my control to change. It is part of the Florida law, and it is part of something that every city has to do to discuss labor negotiations. It is specifically in the state statute for these meetings. Okay? Specifically. Again, Commissioner Ruzzano, and I've read numerous things that I've done to you and said to you and all that, and this is not personal for me. If it was personal to me, I would be discussing the confidential things that you said in this article. I'm specifically saying that you specifically took work product from that meeting and made it public knowledge. I'm specifically saying that you have made it impossible, or close to impossible, for the city to negotiate. And you need to remember one other thing. Yes, you represent the residents of Margate, as do the rest of us. And in labor negotiations, you represent the city of Margate. And that is your job in those labor negotiations. So for you to be the only one that is representing the residents, and believe me, I would love to have everything out in the sunlight. But according to the law, we can't. It would be basically as far as playing poker with your hands facing outward, and it hinders the labor negotiations. I will entertain a motion for, and the city manager gave us a number. Again, my recommendation, oh, I'm sorry, Commissioner Talbot, I didn't see him.
Yes, I just want to ask Commissioner Ruzzano. You said something that kind of caught me off guard. You said, if I'm the mayor, I'm never going to have these kind of meetings. So my question to you is, in the future, I want to get past this stuff. We got a lot of work to do, and this is going to happen again over the years, these negotiations. So I want to know, if we go in these negotiations again, are you going to be there with us on our side, or are you going to be saying, well, I want everybody to know what went on here?
Frank, now that I know what the meeting is about, I will abide by the meeting. I never meant to hurt anybody here.
And no one
Like I
said
said, I'm not perfect. I really don't want to be censured. No, I don't. And I'm sitting up here fighting for it. Thank you.
As long as I have your word on that. Thank you.
Okay, there is a public censure, there is a reprimand, which is something I just recently heard. There's a number of other things, and again, I'm recommending for the lesser of them because he is a new commissioner, and because while it appears that he did it with malice, I don't think he really meant to do it with malice. So I'll entertain a motion for whatever the commission wants.
I'm going to bring it down to just a reprimand.
Is there a second? For a reprimand? Now I'm going to pass the gavel for a reprimand. I'll second the reprimand.
Pass the gavel.
I pass the gavel. I'm going to give the public the right, but I'm going to ask just a minute. I'm going to ask a legal question. Which is the lesser of the two, the censure or the reprimand?
Censure is the document is a resolution. The reprimand is a motion and does not have to be a document.
Okay.
I've heard what you guys had to say, and I told you my answer.
All right, so we've
Commissioner
got,
Ruzzano, before, and we're not going to vote on this until we hear the public.
Right.
But I told you this privately, and I'm going to tell it to you again in public. I believe personally that you have every right to vote on this motion. However, unfortunately, the Ethics Commission found probable cause for an ethics violation against David McLean when he voted against his own censure. So I've read their opinion on why they believe that, and it was a very poorly, there was absolutely no analysis why that was a special benefit to him and did not have a bearing on his job or the public. I think they were absolutely wrong, but I want to tell you that before the vote. They found probable cause. When McLean voted on his own censure, you have to make the decision whether you wish to vote or wish to abstain when motions are made.
and I happen to agree that I believe you should be able to vote. Commissioner Tallarico.
Yes, you know, I think we've all learned a lot about this up here, about what went on. It was more a lesson in how things are supposed to be. I think we've, you know, we're going to hear from a lot of different people up here afterwards. This thing is going to go on and on. I don't want to see this thing fester anymore. Okay? I think Commissioner Ruzzano has learned his lesson. And I'm saying, you know, again, I'm not here to punish the town. We're just here to make sure that everybody's on the same page, everybody understands this, and I'm going to withdraw my second to the motion.
You actually first
made the motion.
Oh, okay.
Okay, so now we've gotten rid of the reprimand, I will entertain the motion.
I guess I can make a motion that, you know, what happened here, because all your colleagues were upset with, and we discussed it, and we have to move on with the business of the city. We don't want to. I understand where everybody's coming from. I was hurt badly by this time. I mean, Friday, my stomach was in knots. I mean, especially when you read something somewhere else, you know, you say, well, how did these people find out about this, and so forth, and so on. So, it's time to move on, that's all.
Is that in the form of like Commissioner Donahue?
As we don't have a motion on the floor. As we don't have a motion right now, before we consider making another motion, I just wanted to echo what I just heard, and that is the principles behind this. And in all humility, I'm more concerned with what's in the best interest of the city and moving on rather than being right and trying to prove somebody else wrong. I think we can learn from this and move on.
Commissioner Ruzzano.
I just want to say to my commission and everybody sitting up here and everybody out there, I apologize.
Vice Mayor Simone.
Tommy, I respect you for that. In the future, would you do me a favor, please? If you are contacted by the news, don't let them make you look bad. And also, if you don't believe in something, it's better just to air your own personal feeling about how you feel about it and not bring others into it. Keep those to yourself. And if somebody asks you, well, what did so-and-so say? Or how do you think so-and-so feels? Then it's probably best for you to say, you know what? I'm not their mother, I'm not their father. Go and ask them.
Okay, So, Commissioner Ruzzano, I accept your apology, and I, again, want to move on, and, if there's no motion, I do want to say one thing, because reading your article, and I don't know if I'm in violation of the confidentiality. However, had you said what you said in paper during that meeting, your feelings on the money, had you said that in that meeting, it's very possibly you could have convinced 2 other commissioners to agree with you. So if you have these thoughts and ideas, you need to bring them out and you need to speak about them, because we bounce off of each other. And after I had read that, I would have probably been in agreement with you, but you didn't say that at the meeting. And I think that's the part that kind of bothers me, is that you're passionate about what you believe, and I give you that 100%. I wish you would say that when we are in a meeting, and not worry about it getting taken personal, because once we walk off this dais, it isn't personal, okay? But you had made some good points, but you didn't bring them up at that meeting, and I wish for all of our sakes you would have said, wait a minute, what about this? And again, I think you probably could have convinced at least one commissioner in that room that would have been the proper route to go. So I hope that in the future you do that and make us aware of what you're feeling, as opposed to us reading it in the newspaper, because I had no idea you felt that way. And as I said, I would have probably said, hey, he's not so bad. So if there's no motion, and we're going to accept, we're going to take a consensus, or is that necessary, that we all accept the apology and we continue and move on. As I said, this is not an Amish shutting, Tommy. We're not throwing you out of the family. But it is, again, my belief that, and if you feel that I've done something wrong, please, I'll be happy to put it on an agenda. I will be happy to, because I firmly do believe that we are the governor ourselves, and that past mistakes that other commissioners have made in the past would never have gotten as far as they did had the commission done something. Okay.
The statute says, members of the public shall be given a reasonable opportunity to be heard on a proposition before a board or commission. The opportunity to be heard need not occur at the same meeting at which the board or commission takes official action. We are not taking
All right. Do y'all want to talk?
Meeting adjourned.